with Sherry about the Rabbit Transit 3P ride incorporated. Good morning, Sherry. How are you?
Good morning. I'm wonderful today. How are you?
Well, I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking. And you've got a whole lot of people right there making it easier for people to get around, although we just heard some news yesterday. You're going to ask them to wear masks now. And we also maybe wanted to talk about some of the new routes if we can. But I wanted to talk about Rabbit Transit and the great service that you do here in York. Nonprofit organization, 3P Ride Incorporated. What was it created for? What are you trying to get done here? What's the mission, Sherry?
Okay, so the mission of the organization is that we're really trying to advance affordable and convenient mobility solutions that allow central Pennsylvania residents to connect to their most basic needs. And so as we were really created to help where funding is not available through traditional transportation funding streams. So it's there to cover the gaps where Rabbit Transit isn't able to get funding for different programs.
Really good idea. And one of the things I noticed, the 3P Ride you've prioritized three mobility initiatives: veterans, transportation, access to care, and food access. Talk about that if you would, please.
Yeah, so when we were beginning this organization, we really wanted to develop and identify some priorities that we would focus on, the things that we see as the biggest gaps, and particularly at this time with COVID-19, with us having the things in place to help mitigate some of the spread of COVID-19, having to increase social distancing between riders and drivers. We're doing rear boarding practices. And then also part of this is including free fares. So the no fares are really in place to keep some distance between drivers and the riders. So it's really important, especially right now, that we are getting folks to medical treatment. So that, along with getting our veteran riders to the VA medical clinic, and then folks to have access to food resources like grocery stores and the like.
Yeah, you talk about a place to buy milk on your website, receive an immunization, maintain employment, learn the alphabet, maybe go, as a second language, English. It's amazing to me, Sherry, when we think about Rabbit Transit, in this particular case, in the Rabbit Transit 3P Ride, we take mobility for granted. So many of us have a car. We jump in the car, we drive to the store or whatever it might be. And not everybody has that. So I think it's something where we focus in now and realize there are a lot of people without that kind of mobility, and they count on a place like Rabbit Transit, the 3P Ride, to really be able to get them to some of those very needed services.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I often say is, we have in York County such amazing nonprofit organizations in place, things to help people in times of need. But the fact is without a way to get there, you can have the best programs and services available, but if people can't get to them, what is the true value of that service? So that's really where 3P comes in, is to help people get to those places that without, a lot of people would be in big trouble.
And it's fair to say that you're plugging a gap right here that, obviously there is money for things like Rabbit Transit, but then you're plugging a gap for different kinds of funds that are not there for Rabbit Transit. Is that a fair way of saying it, Sherry?
It is. So oftentimes different funders are interested in giving to locations and organizations that are 501c3s. Rabbit Transit is not that. And so when 3P Ride is assisting Rabbit Transit, we are really seeking out funds that fund specifically 501c3 organizations, and then we're able to provide those funds to Rabbit Transit to provide services that would not otherwise be offered. So, for example, the Veterans Program that we currently operate, we provided about 5,000 trips in the last fiscal year.
Wow.
And they were for folks to get to the VA clinic who would not have been able to get there. And there is not a current funding stream in Pennsylvania to cover veteran services. So that's 5,000 trips for people to get critical life-sustaining medical care.
And that is where you come in, ladies and gentlemen. On May 1st, we have the big give, and I would hope you'll keep Rabbit Transit 3P Ride right there somewhere in your consciousness. It's helping people get around who don't have the mobility. It's helping veterans. It's helping other people who don't have cars and so forth. Please think about them, and you can give. And if you go to givelocalyork.org and hit Rabbit 3P Ride Incorporated, you will see exactly what they do and what your different levels of giving can do to help them. Sherry, great work. Really appreciate what you all are doing out there, and good luck on May 1st. And most importantly, thank you for what you're doing to help the community during this very special time.
Thank you so much.